The next thing we need to create now are the security groups. In order to do that, let us start to declare security or the data that we are going to use to create our security groups. Let us first of all declare variables. Variable. Let's declare variables for security groups. And the next thing we need to do is just like the ones we created earlier, we could just say variable. So this will be, let us call this ingress rules. Let's call it ingress rules. After this, we are going to create the one we need for the egress. And we are going to also give it a description. And the description would be, let's say, all allowed rules. Also, if you want, you could also add a description to this one. So description here, we could say our region. You could add also here description, availability zone. So you could just add it there also. So here we all have description. The next thing we need to do is to declare the type of the data that that this ingress is going to contain. So what we're going to describe here is let us use list object, and let's say object. As you can see, I already showed this in the previous two videos. So as you can see, this helps me to kind of easily pick, or kind of gives you like a direction or choose. So if you haven't done that, so you might want to go back here and make sure that you install this HashiCorp Terraform stuff here. So if you install it, it will be help you to complete whatever it is that you're trying to type. So now the next thing we need to do, the name would be, we are going to use, if you remember our previous security group that we created. So there we had like from port. If you remember, as you can see, we had like here from port to port, IP protocol, and so forth. So we are doing something a bit similar here. So here we are going to have our from port. So this is going to be number, which means like integer, right? We are also going to have to port. This will also be number. The next thing that we need is the protocol. Protocol. We can call it, this one is string. And the next thing that we need is cider. I don't know if you pronounce it cider or whatever. So, but it's like cider IVP4. So this one is going to be list of strings. Let's say string. So we should also have one for our IPv6. So it should also be list of strings. So these are the data type that we need in our security group. The next thing that we need to do now is to go down there and then create default data that we are going to need. So we go down there, and then the from port, we are going to have port 22. If you remember, we had it, which we used to connect remotely to the device that we provisioned. So we are going to have port 22. We are going to also have, let's say, to port 22. The next thing that we need is a protocol. The protocol for this is a string, right? So it's TCP. The next thing that we need is let us allow both what do you call it? Both IPv4 and IPv6. And let us also do the same for this. So this one is and 0. So that's what we need for this. The next thing that we need to do is we are going to create also one for the other port numbers. The other port number that we have is we have also port 80. So for this, we are going to just say from port 80 to, oh, I think there is wait, there should be, let me do this again. Yeah, that's it. So we should have from port 80 also to port 80. And this is just the same as what we already did. So we could just copy what we've got here and paste the same thing here. There is no difference. The next thing we need to do is, let's see if something is missing. The next thing we need to do is to do one for also port 443. We are going to also, we need one for port 443. There should be a comma here for port 443. And we just go on and change here to 443 and 443. Now that we have created all the codes that we need for our ingress, we are going to go on and create one for the egress. Let me copy this because it's going to be quite similar to what we already got there. I'm going to paste it here, and let's call this egress. We call this egress rules, and this we should call it egress rules, for example, to make it more easier to understand what we are doing. Egress rules here should also be ingress rules. So it's more understandable that way. We now have this. This is going to be easier actually, because if you think about it, here, in order to remote our to kind of connect our server, the server we hosted on AWS, we kind of allowed these ports and IPs, which, if you remember in the previous video, like I said, it's not usually typical to allow all these IP addresses. Normally, you need to allow something that you need to be more specific to what IP address that you want to use, and not allow just about everything. The next thing we need to do now that we've got this is that we are going to declare, because this is like for us to be able to connect to the outside world from the AWS environment. What we need to do here is we can connect to all port numbers, all IP addresses, and so forth. And what we need to do here is we can just declare from port. I think, wait. We should have default as we did earlier. So we have from port, this should be, we have 0 to port. We can also have 0. The next thing is protocol. As we did before, we could have -0, and this means all protocols. The next thing is we can allow all IPs or IPv4. Here we can allow all IPv6. Like I said, this one is very simple. In order to go out, we can just target any IP or any port number outside the world. And now, if you want to take a second look at our code or our variables, this is quite straightforward. I wanted to say that if you probably need more additional information, you could just search for developer HashiCorp Terraform input variable. We are going to read more about this here. This is quite almost the same as what I did, what we just accomplished now. As you can see here, you see we use type. Here, like I said, you could use a description. You could also use like type. You could also have type there, right? As you can see. So, but you could just look up here and find more information as to how this is used. Let's go back to our code, if I can find it. That's our code. The next thing that we need to do now is to go back to our security group and make some major changes there. And the changes that we are going to make is, first of all, let me save all these files. Here, this is our current security group. We are going to just let me comment everything out because we are going to need something entirely new. I'm going to comment it out and then just go down there and start to use our security group that we just, or the variables that we just created. And as usual, this should be resource, AWS Security Group. Let's give it a name. The name I'm going to give it now is security group. Let's call it security group. We could give it a name as usual. Security group. Description, we can give it a description. Our new security group. Now, we are going to, let us start with the ingress security group. Ingress rules. We are going to use dynamic. Like I said, to understand this more, you can check the documentation that I just showed now, and we can just call it ingress. And we are going to loop through this. We are going to use for each. We call our variable dot ingress dot ingress rules. That's what we called it, ingress rules. And the next thing that we need to do, content. Here we are going to look through and then list all the information that we have for our ingress security group. So we can say from the name is ingress dot value dot from. We can also to port the same ingress dot value dot to port. The next thing that we need is a protocol. So just the same ingress dot value dot protocol. And for our IPv4 ingress dot value dot CIDR4. The next one is for our IPv6 dot value dot 6. Let's see, ingress.value dot, okay, this, let us try IP, let's see, say the blocks, let's see, oh, IPv6 block, okay, ingress dot value dot IPv6. As you can see, this we have for our ingress. The next thing we need to do now is to create one for our egress. To do that, we can just do dynamic egress and obviously the same as what we've got here. So let me copy this and paste it there. Something is missing. Yeah, I know what's missing. Let me copy the entire thing. And or something is still missing. Let me check it. Yeah, I should copy including the for reach. Oh, look, wait a moment. I'm missing something here. So it should be dynamic. So this entire thing should be inside of that. Yeah, that's what it should look like. Now we've got all our the information that we need. So this is for our egress connection. That's it. The next thing that we need to do now is to go back to our, let me first of all save this, and then let's go back to our instance. We probably need to make some changes here. This is our instance, so let's check what we got here. We call this secgrp. Oh, I didn't mean to, I meant to copy secgrp. When we go there, it should be the same. This is very important. We should have the same thing there. Let's see. Oh, security group dot group dot, should be that dot id. That's what it should be. Oh, that's what it should be. I believe this is all that we need. We needed to run our wait. Let's see. That's all we needed to redeploy our device. So the next thing we are going to do now is to initialize the code and apply it. Oh, I just realized, by the way, I forgot to change egress. This should be, oh, I forgot to give it a name, which is egress. And apologies, you can just change everything here because this is under egress. You just change everything here. Just change everything here. Once you change it, we are going to go on and apply our code.